Okay, so we learned in world religions class that Hindus, we'll just put Hindus up here. Okay, so this outside line right here represents community. Okay? Same with this, community. So this is the community. This is what they call like the donut example. It's like a donut. The community is the outside line, and then God is the inside line. So God is in here. Okay, in the Hindu religion, the community determines the God. So basically, in the Hindu religion, people can, whatever works for them is like how the God is. You choose who your gods are. In fact, it's not uncommon for Hindus to accept Jesus Christ as their personal God, right? And they say it's also not uncommon to go into a Hindu's house, see all these other gods, Ganesh, Vishnu, and all that. And then you have a picture of Jesus Christ right there. And they'll bow down and worship Jesus Christ just like they worship the rest of the others, right? And so they'll accept God, but, they believe that all these religions and all these gods have some truth to them. And so they'll be the first one in the Bible study. They'll be the most eager people in the Bible studies, from what I hear too. And so the community decides the God. Now in Christianity, it's supposed to be this way. The God decides the community. Now, if we are just changing the way we want to, could we not end up like this? That's the danger in changing the Sabbath days. That's the danger in doing these type of things. We as God's people, we as God's chosen people, we really need to look at this for ourselves as well as outside. Sunday keepers, they're not really looking at it this way. Like a lot of people that I've actually talked to about the Sabbath, their arguments are like, it doesn't matter which day we go to church on. Do you think God's really going to punish me for some small matter like that? It's not a big deal. And some of them, they actually kind of giggle and smirk when you try to tell them about the Sabbath. Like, it doesn't mean anything. As long as you accept Christ as your personal Savior, then you're all right. And that is true to a degree. But every time when you choose Christ as your personal Savior, like I said, you're choosing those covenants and promises. You're accepting those when you accept Christ as your personal Savior. And so we don't want to end up in this region right here. This is a dangerous place to be. All right, now I want to move on to how was the Sabbath day changed? Now, a lot of us in the Adventist religion, we know how the Sabbath day was changed. But not everybody does. In fact, the majority of Christians were observing the seventh-day Sabbath as late as the middle of the 5th century, AD 450. Ultimately, the Catholic Church, over a period of time, brought in many of the pagan traditions, and one happened to be Sunday sacredness. And that's one of many pagan traditions that they actually brought in. So, basically what happened is the Catholic Church, to appease the sun gods, bring in more capital, bring in more people, get more, members in their church. They adopted some of this very same pagan religion or pagan observances so they could bring people in. And so when people came in, all this stuff got adopted into the church. And then so when people left the church to escape persecution and come over to America, then they bring with them a lot of these pagan rituals with them, and one of them being Sunday sacredness. And so, with that being said, I'd like to challenge the greater part of the world to really look into the Sabbath truth and not just throw it aside, and to really think about what does God want me to do? What is truth? Just like the same question that Pilate asked Jesus, but didn't stay there to hear the answer. We got to know what is truth. What does God want for us ultimately? Not what feels good. Not what is the rest of the world doing. The Sabbath is not a popular doctrine, and so we need to look at what is right and what is real. And we just, as Adventists, need to spread the word, spread the truth, get this Sabbath truth out there, and we need to really study how we are going to go about this, because it's not easy. In fact, writing this speech was probably one of the hardest things I've had to do so far. we think that the Sabbath truth is an easy doctrine because it's part of the commandments, but there's a lot of stuff we have to look into in a lot of angles. Yes, does the Bible explain itself easily? Yes, I believe it does. And I believe you can find these truths very simply in the Bible and don't have to do a deep study. But to really try to convince people of the truth, that's another thing. And I think we should be studying that. Thank you for listening.